I'm Carla with Race Talk. Thanks for joining me. And today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts as a first-time reader of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. But before we get started, a little bit about this channel. Here we share good thoughts about good words, and on Fridays I host a live Bible study on Instagram at Race to Walk, and then I publish 2 videos a week. I publish a replay of that Bible study as well as a video about books. So if you're interested in either of those things, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and share it with some friends. So this is part of a series of reviews on Harry Potter books. I just read them for the first time in the summer of 2020 when I was going through a class with my friend Annie Crawford. So Annie is a fellow graduate of Houston Baptist University's Cultural Apologetics program, and she is a total Harry Potter fan. And she has a lot of really great insight. So if you ever have the opportunity of taking this class with Annie, I highly recommend it. So in the class, Annie had a lot of insights into the symbolism in the book, and the main theme of the book is one of alchemy. Now, alchemy was the precursor to the field of chemistry, but at the time, the alchemists were seeking the Philosopher's Stone so that they could transmute metal into gold. And in my video on the Hunchback of Notre Dame, that pursuit of alchemy plays a big role in the story. Not a big role, but it does transmute a character. But as far as the plot, if you've read the book or watched the movies, I'm sure you're familiar with it, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But as with every book, it begins with Harry at his Aunt and Uncle's house right before he returns to Hogwarts for the year. And this is his 5th year going back to Hogwarts. But this return is a little different because as he's there, thinking about the world around him, listening to the news, he hears a sound which he thinks is somebody, what they call disparading, someone who comes in and comes out of the area, and it makes this sound. And so he realized that there's somebody that's magical that's been close to him. Well, then he's attacked by the Dementors, which are kind of like, they kind of remind me of the ghouls or like the ring race in Lord of the Rings. But he uses his magic, which he's not supposed to do, to defend himself, and he gets in trouble with the Ministry of Magic. This sets the stage for the drama of the book, because one of the themes of the book is this interior corruption. There's actually people within the Ministry of Magic that are actually working for the villain or Voldemort and trying to get at Harry. And so this place of safety that Harry has, which is Hogwarts, is actually invaded from within. So in the other books and towards the end of this book, you see this external threat. But in this book, it starts on the inside, and then later in the end of the book, we see that because of this internal corruption, it allows the external threat again. So the Ministry of Magic sends this woman, Dolores Umbridge, to be the teacher of the defense of the dark arts. Now, I've mentioned in some of my other reviews that magic in Harry Potter isn't so much what we think of as magic. The fact that these people do have these different abilities and that are aware and can tap into these things that other people can't, it's more of an analogy between the physical and the materialistic worldview and the supernatural, right? And so in this defense against the dark arts class, they're learning to fight against evil. And we saw in the previous book, The Goblet of Fire, and the students hadn't really been prepared well. They didn't know how to defend against curses. But at this point, it gets even worse because Dolores Umbridge really does not teach them much of anything, and their time there is completely wasted. So the students decide they're going to train themselves. They form Dumbledore's army, and they meet secretly so they can practice different things. So when you look at this as a symbol for this magic and this other as a symbol for the spirit, you can see how the parallel runs with the church, because in a lot of our churches, they kind of act like the Muggles do in Harry Potter and really don't believe there's anything other than the world that they see right in front of them, even though they profess to have a faith in a God who is outside of space and time. And we have a book that says there is an unseen world with beings in it that are set out to harm us. Even though they say that they believe the Bible, they don't act like they believe it. And we have churches that are basically operating like Dolores Umbridge operated the dark arts class, and they refuse to teach people that it's there and how to defend against it. So Dolores Umbridge finds out that the students are doing that. Dumbledore, in order to protect them all, takes responsibility for it and goes into hiding. So the students are there. They're without Dumbledore, and Dolores Umbridge takes over as leadership of Hogwarts. And at this point, it looks like evil has won. Dumbledore is supposedly vanquished. He's not there. But the other theme of the book, and that runs parallel to this interior corruption, is really the one that Harry is going through personally. Harry is going through a trial where he is being broken down. He is, Annie pointed out in the book that he's angry. He's heated. He's raging against a lot of things. You know, she compared it to the process of alchemy, where it's the material, the matter that's there to be that you're starting with, is broken down before it can be refined, before it can be built up and that's what you see with Harry. He goes into the story as sometimes a kind of petulant little boy. He's having to learn how to go past his self-focus and to focus on other people, to realize that it's not only about him. So at the end, Dumbledore is talking about how he himself has made a mistake in putting too much of a focus on Harry. "I cared about you too much," said Dumbledore simply. "I cared more for your happiness than your knowing the truth, more for your peace of mind than my plan, more for your life than the lives that might be lost if the plan failed. In other words, I acted exactly as Voldemort expects we fools who love to act. Is there a defense? I defy anyone who has watched you as I have, and as I have watched you more closely than you can have imagined, not to want to save you more pain than you had already suffered. What did I care if numbers of nameless and faceless people and creatures were slaughtered in the vague future, if in the here and now you were alive and well and happy? I never dreamed that I would have such a person on my hands." So I think part of what we see in this is that, you know, sometimes the truth can be ugly. What we need to know cannot be pleasant, but it's better that we know the truth. You know, a lot of what Harry thought wasn't actually, and not only about, you know, people around him, not only about friends, but also about himself. In order for him to, in the end, do what he needed to do, you have to be able to see clearly. And if you still have those false ideas and false beliefs, that you're not going to be able to do that. And the third theme in this book, and this is true in the whole Harry Potter series, is the importance of community. So in this whole process of Harry going through this reworking of self and this stripping down, in the whole book, it's kind of like a fleshing out of seeing where people really are. And the only thing that he's left with when he's had this stripping down is his friends, and it's his community. And in the end, when Harry is, has bitterness, he's experienced, loss personally. And what draws him out of this bitterness is his compassion for Luna. He sees that she's lost just as much as he has, but she doesn't hold on to bitterness about it. And then the book ends with him going back for another summer to the Dursleys, a place where he doesn't want to go, but now he understands why he needs to. And it ends with, "Harry, we'll get you away from there as soon as we can," Miss Weasley whispered, hugging him again. "We'll see you soon, mate," said Ron, anxiously shaking Harry's hand. "Really soon, Harry," said Hermione earnestly. Harry nodded. He somehow could not find the words to tell them what it meant to him to see them all ranged there on his side. Instead, he smiled, raised a hand in farewell, turned around and led the way out of the station toward the sunlit street, with Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and Dudley hurrying along in his wake. So it's this companionship with others that is seeing him through this. And that is true of all of us, isn't it? It doesn't matter how bad the situation, as long as you have somebody to go through it with you. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you like about this book, or if you don't like this book, or what are your thoughts about it. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.